Okay, so we were in Servlets. We're done with Servlets. Let's start with JSP. So JSPs again is technology developed by Java, basically for server technology. Again, used to develop some applications. Right. So, and this JSPs is something which is completely an extension of Servlets. Right. JSPs internally gets converted to Servlets, and then whatever we have built in Servlets, right, that will be extended till we actually the complete life cycle of JSP will actually start from JSP and will be next to that it will be converted to that Servlet, and from Servlet the life cycle will be same as the Servlet which we have done previously. That is how the JSPs goes. It is basically an extension of Servlet, but yes, JSPs are something which actually contains some HTML code with some JSP tags, I would say. Right. So in these JSP tags, we can just say we can write a code of code in Java in the same page itself. We can do that. You can actually write a complete web application on directly in a JSP. You don't actually need a servlet as such. But yes, internally we are using servlet technology to work with JSP. Right. That's why we always call it as an extension. But normally what happens here is we'll be having HTML plus some Java code. Right? So that's why this is the main thing why we use JSPs. Right? Because if you are designing only, if you are using a web page only for some designing purpose, right? Like you just want to show whatever is rendered from a servlet or something, right? Then you just need HTML. You don't need JSP. Right? But yes, if you want to do more than just presentation, right? Presentation, or you want to write some logics directly in a HTML page itself, then we have to go for a JSP. And that's the basic difference what we have. But yes, whatever we can do in HTML, we can do everything in JSP. Java supports everything in JSP, and if you are using at least Juno, right, or the previous version, then the support of HTML5 is there. So HTML5 support is being increased from June. So you can actually select your whenever you create your project, right? I'll show you where to actually get into this, right? You can actually select HTML5 or 4 and all. But anyways, all the browsers in current market supports HTML4, each and every browser. But HTML5 are completely supported by first Chrome and Firefox. These are the browsers which completely support HTML5, and yes, even IE supports, but apart. And IE 10 beta supports HTML5, but the experience is not that good actually for me. So these are the two. And anyways, your Safari and your Opera. So Safari and Opera also supports HTML5, but mostly used client where the client uses browsers are these three anyways, right? That's why I'm just taking it out. But Chrome is the first browser which was completely compatible with HTML5, and then Firefox came. Right, and even in Firefox it was greater than version 15. I think current version was 22, or some version is going on in Firefox. Yes, even they support that. And if you want to develop anything on HTML5, then I suggest you to use at least greater than Eclipse version, at least greater than Juno. Yeah, even if you use the previous one, it may support, but you may not get all the features as needed. Right? That's a basic thing we have. And we'll be using for JSPs, again we'll be using Tomcat itself, Tomcat server. We'll see again how to configure Tomcat and everything, right? So that even in order to run a JSP again, you need a medium again, right, to actually convert it to we need a web container which can work with JSP to actually start and work on it. And basically this JSP, you don't have to compile this JSP. So one of the main feature is you don't have to compile. As if you want to change anything in JSP, right? Even if it is a code, it doesn't matter. Because the life cycle is as designed so that you don't have to compile during design time or whenever you are taking packages, right? So what happens is in life cycle itself, it is converted to servlet in a server itself using a JVM. That's the main feature of JSP. But the same thing cannot be done with the servlets, because if you are changing anything with your servlet, you have to recompile the whole thing, create a class, and deploy it again, right? But in JSP, it is not the case. You can just change or modify whatever you need. Just copy this standalone JSP and paste it back to your web apps. And I hope I've shown you the folder where all your applications will be. It will be on the website. Whenever you deploy anything, we have seen servlets, right? When in our servlets, you can see each and every HTML page was here, and your web.xml and your classes. So right, that's what happens. Right? So that is where I was talking about. You can just modify it, get the resource, paste it back into your application. Right? That is where your JSP, mainly as we say, your HTML and code, right? Which means your presentation layer and business layer will be easily separated. Right? That's what is the main advantage of this. But till now, what we are seeing is we used to write a JSP. We used to write a servlet where we used to write both business logic and the HTML. Right? If you remember, we used to write print writer, where we used to print some tags and some forms, which is we used to club everything. But using this, you can actually make a separate. You can actually separate your business logic from your presentation. That's a basic advantage of JSP which we have over servlet. Now let us first see let us start with the technology, how it works. Let us first see the life cycle of JSP. It's very important to keep in mind, because JSP life cycle is something where whenever you are creating a JSP, you must and should keep in mind that it is gonna convert into servlet. Right? Now, basically how it comes is, you have your JSP, you will be having your JSP. Now whenever you have your JSP, right, it will be, let me make it as a presentation because so let us say we have designed your JSP. So this JSP, whenever you deploy in any kind of server, let us say if you have deployed it from Tomcat server, right? So what happens is every web container will have something called JSP translator. JSP translator. You will have your JSP translator. So whenever you call a JSP, this is how it happens. There is a client will request. Let us say there is a client here. There is a client, and we requested for a JSP. Right? Now what happens whenever we call some JSP? What happens here is JSP will actually convert it, will be translated, and it is actually translated to something called servlet.java. Servlet, which is a .java file, right? And this is a time where whenever you have a .java, right, your JVM will not have, cannot read this .java file directly, right? So here, this is a place where it will be compiled. Now, the next thing is that you have your compiler, so it will be compiled here. and then once it compiles, then it will get a class file. So this is the main file which is going to work for us. So your dot class will be generated, okay. And this dot class will be loaded on the GRE, because your server will have a GRE, right? It will be loaded on GRE, and this GRE understands this class because we have compiled it, and we are able to compile this because it is a .java file which is a servlet, and we are able to get the servlet file by your translator, right, which translates a JSP completely into servlet, right? And once your GRE is done, then you have your servlet object, right, because it is capable of creating a servlet object. So you have your servlet. Now from here, all the life cycle continues. Servlet object will be converted to something called buffer, which we have already seen. Something like it will be converted to buffer. It is the dynamic content, right? And this buffer will be given back to your client. So that is how your life cycle goes on. The JSP is there, it will be converted to some servlet.java, right? And then this is a point where everything comes which we have learned in servlets. Once a servlet is there, then what happens? It will compile, it will create a class file, it will load on GRE. But what we do is what we have learned during servlet is this part will be doing during design time itself, right? While creating the package itself, we create a servlet, compile it, and create our class. And whenever we package, this class file will be packaged at once, right? But here your web container will take care of doing all these parts, right? And then a class file, whenever it is loaded on GRE, it will create an object, and this is converted to a buffer. The output is converted to buffer, and this buffer is not, it is a complete dynamic buffer. It's a dynamic content as such, right? And then it will be given back to client. Anyways, all these things happens with a medium called a web server. This will be there anyways. Web server, which we were talking about, something called Tomcat. Yeah.
What happens to the HTML part of it? I mean, you show whatever that gets processed in the Java code, right?
Yeah. So
what happens to the HTML part of it?
HTML part will be converted as a print writer. It will be converted as an output buffer, which is of form text or HTML. You remember, we always used to write something called, whenever you want to print something from servlet, we used to use print writer, and content type used to be text or HTML. You can convert the whole HTML part into buffer inside the servlet itself. You're getting what I'm saying?
So when it creates the servlet.java, it's basically converting HTML code into basically one more layer, right?
One more layer, yeah, correct. Like it will be converted like this as such. Now let me show one servlet which we have created. Maybe HTTP hidden field. You can hear, right, this part. Maybe HTTP field 2. We have some HTML. Yep, we have some HTML here. Now you can see, basically we have learned some life cycle of this, right? Let me just give you the life cycle of this first. So servlet, we said you have init life cycle, you have service, right, and you have destroy, right? We learned this part. So there your init and destroy are called once, and service continuously is being called. In the same way, service in the sense, service is called from your dubet. What happens is, whenever your JSP is converted to servlet, which means already your init will be called from your JSP, because JSP will have its own life cycle. I'll tell you that, what exactly they are, right? And whenever it calls either dubet or dopost, right, what happens is complete HTML and the logic will be converted like this. The HTML will be converted like set content type, print writer, and automatically it will keep this ready.
Isn't it the performance hit compared to the servlets?
It's not, right? It is not, because it is actually converted directly as a binary, right? So whenever it
I mean, the browser HTML, pure HTML is easy to be translated and displayed instead of converting the code HTML back.
Exactly. If you don't want to if you don't want to write any JSP or any Java code, and if you want to use any JSP libraries, then actually you can go for HTML. That's what I said actually. Yeah, you can do that. Yes. Compared to HTML, right? Obviously, HTML will be much faster than JSP, definitely, because JSP always gets into this life cycle and will be shown, right? But HTML compared to JSP will be faster. But if you want to use the features of JSP, you have to go for JSP.
No, what I'm trying to think, like I'm trying to compare JSP with, for example, like ASP or PHP. What happens, like those also similar, right? They will be mix of HTML and the server.
Exactly. Even your ASPX or your PHP or any page, right? It will be a mix of HTML and.
So what happens in those cases? The web server does not process the HTML. It just takes the server side code, processes it, and then combines the pure HTML and this, so that it doesn't process the HTML code. That will be the job of the browser.
Because HTML code will not be processed at server side. It will be rendered at browser side, right? But the logic whatever you're writing inside the scripted, scripted in the sense whatever the code you're actually mentioning inside in HTML, which is a JSP, right? That part of code will be actually executed at a server side, and the complete HTML and the part of code which you have actually called will be rendered into browser. I'll show you one part, right? I'll show you where actually we are writing a code and how it is being rendered, and you can actually combine both HTML and the code what we are writing. Based on the code, the HTML will be rendered. When we actually get into that part, I think you'll understand this better, Sunita.
Okay.
You'll understand this. But basically, yes, compared to JSP, if you take the rendering time of HTML and if you compare to JSP or ASPX or PHP, right, definitely your HTML will render faster than these things. But the difference will be very minute. Just take an example of security itself, right? Your JSP is more secure than HTML. The components which you are rendering will be a direct rendering and pasting up in HTML, but it is not with JSP. Right? It has to go through the security layer of the JRE and then it will be rendered into your HTML page. That's what happens. We'll see when we actually go into a cool way of writing code in HTML, how we can actually combine them, how we can actually render based on a code logic, how differently we can actually render our JSP. Then you'll understand what exactly is happening. Fine. Okay. So in the same way, you have your JSP lifecycle too, which is your JSP init, initialize, and then you have underscore JSP service, right? And then you have JSP destroy. Now this is a life cycle of life cycle JSP which we have. And now why do you have underscore for this JSP services? This cannot be overridden. That's the main reason why they mention it as the name as underscore. They have made it not overridable. It's a final method. We cannot actually override this field, this method. That's why it's an underscore JSP servlet. It completely acts inner to that. So what happens is whenever any request comes up, right, it will trigger a unit the first request, and each and every time it internally creates a thread, right? And this underscore JSP service is something which is actually acting upon your servlet service, right? Because it has to create multiple threads for each and every request. Otherwise, if I am calling a page and other guy is calling the same page, but his login details is different and my login details is different, which means I should get the same page with my profile and he should get a same page with his own profile, right? Which means there should be much of difference on the same page. You will see, even I will be seeing my home.jsp, even he will be checking out the same, but there is some difference that it renders in different way, right? how it is being rendered is in this way, right? Your JSP will take care of this life cycle so that we create a multiple threads inside and will actually render the actual page to the corresponding tab. That's what happens. But yes, this complete life cycle should be, it should go through this life cycle, because until unless your JSP is compiled internally, your JRE will your JRE will never be able to actually send out the buffer. It has to convert your JSP into buffer, right? And this is how it converts into buffer, right? So that's what happens. Even if you take your HTML, it will be directly converted to buffer by your Tomcat itself or any web server, and it will be served. Maybe this part of story, the whole story, will be skipped. Yeah, it happens, right? So that is what is your basic, how your JSP works and what exactly it is. Now let us see the structure where we actually create JSPs now. So let us create a new web application. So let us create a dynamic web project, and again this will follow. Again, let us say writing web JSPs, something, the name. I'm just giving some name, and you can you already have this server with you, which is Tomcat. But if you want, you can actually do this again, which is you can select corresponding web server, whatever you want, right? And if you want to create a new server of this, as I said in previous side, you can create any number of server instances in your Eclipse. You can do that, right? Because you may be running some web applications on Tomcat 5. You need for one project you need Tomcat 5. Yes, you can create, and you should have this Tomcat 5 downloaded to your machine, or at least configured, installed in your machine. Right? Anything can work. Right? You can actually create a local server. You have to check it up so that it will configure a new Tomcat of different version or a same version. You can also do that. You want to do the same version, you can also do that, because you want to use some other port. Yes, you can do that to some other application, right? And just do next, and basically wherever your application is there, just do that path and finish. That's what happens. But as of now, we are not interested in this, so just cancel it, because we already have configured our Tomcat. And remember, this Tomcat configuration, whatever you've done, is only for the current workspace, right? It will not work for some other workspaces. You can create multiple workspaces in your Tomcat, right? You can see I have many workspaces, and you can give a workspace whatever you want, right? But this current Tomcat setup, whatever we have done for our servers, right? This part, right, is something which works only in this workspace. If you delete this workspace, right, and everything else will be deleted. But don't worry, whenever you copy these projects, so I used to copy this project to you, right? It will not register this server, right? It will not register. Whenever whatever project I am actually copying in our Dropbox, right? If you import that project and give your, whenever you run this project, and it will ask for a web server, right? You can give your own server configured. It will work with that. So there is no dependency, right? There is no dependency because in a workspace level you are mentioning the server. Right? That's what happens. Let me create it and make project again. So now here, let me say that JSPs. Now here again you can select your servlet version, whatever you want, right? Like this dynamic web module version is nothing but you're actually mentioning your servlet, because web in Java means you're actually defining your servlet, right? You can either select 3.0 or 2.5 either. Now let me just give you what happens when you select 2.5 and what happens when you select 3.0. Now when you select 2.5, right, you will get something called configuration. Anyways, you can actually go for configuration even in 3.0, but in 3.0 it will be different. You have in 3.0 you have an option to actually configure your JSF into your project. It doesn't matter, we are not into that now. But the basic thing what happens in 2.5 is when you click on modify. See, always whenever you are creating your web application, it can be this can be same even with your JSP, I mean servlets, right? If you are actually trying to create only servlets in your project, even then it works, right? So here, why I was talking about this is, if you want to make, if you want to connect to a web service, right, into your project, right, then always try to actually import those things. If you want to go for access to, just click on access to so that you can use that web service. If you want to go for CXF, you can go, but both the things you cannot select, right, because they are two different web service entities, right? So let us say if I'm selling my, if I'm taking my access to, this is a type of web service which you can use to develop or collaborate our web service with that project. That's what happens. Right? That's why when I click on OK, right now you can see that it will be automatically added to your, setup. That's what happens with the tool. Right? And the same way with respect to this, right? You can also select your JAX RS, which is REST web services, right? These are something which are SOAP protocol web services. We'll come to that when we actually talk about few things about web service. We'll come to that one, right? And you can actually enable, even if you enable JavaScript or not, it will be added up. Don't worry about that. Right? So that is what is a model. And click on next. Now from this part we have already seen how it actually, when you create any class, right? You can also create a servlet in your web project or classes or anything, right? It will use this part to copy the classes. I guess this is something which is web content. Basically, people will be using this web content, or sometimes you will also see it as web app, web icon. It will be web app directory. That's fine. Any content directory will work, right? But whatever you are doing, whatever name you want to give during your creation of project, right? Because internal references will not be disturbed after creating project when you try to rename your content directory. Right? That's what it is. And always keep this deployment descriptor on, right? Because this is something which you are going to work on. Right? Okay, it says access to cannot be installed since access runtime has not been set. Perfect, no issues. So access to I do have in my Tomcat. Okay, I have to configure that, doesn't matter. So access to, you have to download and you have to actually configure, doesn't matter. As of now we don't need this, because if you want to download, you can download your access to core libraries. You will get some 2.0, okay, and you can actually set, no issues. As of now, don't worry about that. So our obligation is this. So if you want to actually configure that, right, I'll be showing you on that part. You have something called web services here. You have to go to Windows preferences. You have web services here, and you have access to preferences, right? Here you can see there is no runtime being provided. That's why it says you have to get that. Anyways, let me try to get that. How to get actually integrate that. Right? So you have your access to. You can go to Apache because it's an Apache's right. So here we have your binaries, right? You have your binaries of access to. Go for download releases. So binaries, yes, we have the latest one, which is 1.6.2. You can go for binary itself. Let me click on zip. Which my first one is. You'll get this up. So you'll always get this in zip mode. Everything, even your Tomcat, everything will be, will come up with zip file. But two things you can see here. It all differs with something. You can actually get the source. They also give the source and the documents, whatever you want, right? And in the same way, when you try to download your Tomcat, right, it will give you two options: either to download that or install that. But anyways, your Apache, whatever you're downloading from Apache or Eclipse, right, it will be a bit slow download, even if the internet is so fast, because they have their own provider, providers in a slow bandwidth. That's why it happens. So you can actually go for multiple releases. This access to is something which is a complete support, to give complete support to web service development, right? And we are going for access to because this is compatible with most of the web servers, with your Tomcat, with your WebLogic, with your WebSphere and JBoss and all, right? And if you go for CXF, right, CXF services, right, so it may not work on your WebLogic here. And if you go for access to itself, where you'll be seeing how to create a stub and all, you can use those type of web services even in Android, right? Whenever you create a web service, because it works in complete, right? Because if you have an Android app, right, and you're trying to get something from web service, you can create a cloud-based program on that web services to actually get this. So access to will give the compatibility for even those things, right? It's fine. So let's go back to this. Is it done? Yeah, it's almost done. You can just copy. I just want to show you that part. So as of now, we'll just delete this and create it again. So if I play, it's done. So let me just copy that part and paste it again in my Tomcat folder and see. Let me just extract that. We have access to. So now you have to give this part. Let me copy this part. Go back to Window Preferences. You have access to view that here. It will automatically load it, right? So now you are going. Again, guys, whatever I'm doing here, I'm doing for a complete window, right? So if you create one more workspace, then it may be different. You again have to do this, right? Just click on Apply and open. Now let us go and create a web project again.
Srinath?
Yeah?
Whatever changes you make in the window preferences, will they be saved in the Eclipse configuration file or for this case only?
Some configurations will be saved only to that workspace only. If you are creating one more project, you have to, one more workspace, you have to do that for that, right?
Okay, thank you.
But few things, yes. Few things if you are working for a window, right? Like your not a build path. Again, build path is something which few things like if you have your we are just doing this part in the window, right? Whatever you do in window will be saved in a complete Eclipse itself, right?
Okay. But these, whatever the settings that we are setting here, suppose if I am creating a WAR file of these web applications, then when I deploy it on a different server, this should not matter, right? Because
this doesn't matter because it will, whatever APIs are needed, it will be zipped up in your WAR file itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So even the target server does not have these latest and greatest versions of all these libraries. It should be fine, right? Because my WAR file should contain all these.
Exactly. It should be fine. If you are using the latest version of Eclipse, it will try to package everything. But yes, you should have at least runtimes being configured in your server. Right? Runtime in the sense at least JRE should be the paths. Environment variables, those variables should be configured. Right?
Okay.
But I don't think, you don't need to configure your access to in your web server. Yes, it happens, right?
Okay, fine.
So this and next, we have finished. Now you can see it tries to install your access to web service here. It will get all the code files actually first. Now you can see the process. Go to web content. Now you can see the complete web module of access to will be actually copied here. All your pages and everything. Right? This will take care of the stubs. Stubs in the sense when you try to call a web service which is remotely is there, right? You can actually use a visual file which is a web service dynamic link file to connect your web. We'll see that part when we actually come back to web services. Right? But as of now, we don't need this. So, but whenever you add that access to, right, your project will become heavy. Do remember that, guys, right? Because you can see all the contents of access to will be copied, which means your WAR file is going to be heavy. If you know that your web application is will never use web service or will never use at least access to web service, right, don't go for this, right? But yes, most of the application will be standalone, right? Then you can actually go for that plain web application. But if you feel that you are going to use, then use this is right. That's what I mean.
But why are we seeing all the source files? I mean, this is supposed to be a library, right?
No, this is a library, but why we are actually showing, we are able to see this part is, whenever you actually set up that access to, right, they are actually adding all those files into a project. It's a design pattern. Even I don't know why, because it should be rendered from the host, right? It should be rendered from the host. But what happens here is, whenever there is any issue with web service access, if there is an issue in stub, it will directly pick the same corresponding configuration and it will be shown directly into the page. That's why maybe they have used this one. Right? But this doesn't happen with CXF web service. It will completely add something into core libraries itself, right? But access to doesn't. That is the main problem actually. But yes, this is, I won't say it as a problem, because if there is an issue, right, instead of going into API and getting the page, it is directly getting into this. But yes, your WAR file will at least grow at least in MBs if you actually insert this access to web service. So which web service you use, Sunita? I mean, actually you don't have to do this. You can directly...
We have a someone else developed CXF web services.
Mm-hmm. We are using a direct result file.
Yes, I just able to understand that. Finally, I understood it, how to modify and all that stuff. But now I have some issues with the testing part.
Okay.
This access to I have not seen.
Okay, fine. Because in access to you have a big story, like you have to create stubs and all. But CXF, I think you can directly take a visual file. You can create a visual web client, I mean, right? And you can use that, right? But this is different.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Yeah. Sorry, not web client, web service client. Web client is different. Okay, it's a web service client we'll be creating. Even here we'll be creating a web service client, but we'll be integrating that with our stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We'll see that web service part. Now here, the architecture, I mean, the flow of the complete web application same. We have already seen this part, where you have your Java resources. You have source here. So this source is something where you will be creating all your classes, servlets, everything. All your .java files will be created here, right? In your source file. And you have your libraries anyways. So that is something where everything like your Tomcat libraries, everything will be copied. If you are actually using Eclipse greater than some, I think, Indigo or Hebrews, right? All your web application web needed APIs will be actually copied from Tomcat to this directly. If you are using older versions, you have to do it manually, right? That's why start using at least Juno. Even if you are using Indigo or anything, right? Don't worry about that. You can directly download Eclipse and view the workspace here. It will not disturb anything in your workspace. Don't worry about that.
So Juno is the latest one, China?
No, Kepler is the latest one. Kepler, you have a Kepler, but yes, both are almost same. I've used Kepler also, and I feel Juno is a stable one, because Kepler is something. Don't go for Kepler now, because the next version is in progress actually. Just use Juno as of now. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, that is about your libraries. And then you have a build. This build is something, again, as I said, all your .class files or all your third-party libraries, whatever you're going to add, will be again copied back to this part. I mean, so this build is same build which we always used to use, right? All your classes will be copied here. And then you have web content. In this web content, right, we have this web.inf where you have already seen this part, which is web.xml, right? This web.xml will be same. Now you can see here all your access to servlets got added directly. when you try to actually do add this access to web service details, right, then it will be added up. I have just shown you that because whenever you are creating any web application, you should make sure whether you actually, yes, after creating web application, can't I add my access? You can add, but you have to do so many configuration changes. That's the main thing. That's it. Nothing else, right? That's why we are doing this, because if you are designing, if any of your project architect is designing the your product, right, he will be he knows where to place, and in that architecture, if you have any web service to be designed, and that web services is being decided to be designed access to, then you can go for this. That's what happens, right?
Sure, how about the other, suppose for example I feel that I will be using access to and I added this, and so it has all this configuration, later on I decided to change to something else. For example, instead of access to, I decided to change to CXS, then
yes, you can undo in the sense you cannot.
I mean, I will go to the preferences again, the project properties, and I'll, instead of access, I will uncheck access to and I'll check the CXS.
Yes,
so
yes, you can do that. You can do that. You can do that. You can do that anytime you want. Yes, you can actually do that. Okay.
It will not create any complications later, right?
It should not actually. It should not. But we never know. It should not. It will not create any complexity. But yes, you can convert back any ways you want. Right? You can do that. There are some configuration changes, but yes, it is allowed, not always. Okay. So that is what happens in our web.xml, and now here you have a lib folder. So this lib folder is something where you can see as of now access to jars have been copied, right? Even your jars are copied, but if you want to copy any of the third-party jar like OJDBC or anything, right, you have to copy it either here, or you can go to project properties. You always have something called Java build path, right? In your Java build path you have libraries. Either you can add a jar here and add it as a direct jar where you can see web apps and web content and web INF and lib, right? You can directly add it from here, or if you don't want to add it from here, you can directly go for add external jar and add. Both are same, but always go for adding a jar in your lib, right? Because if you add anything in lib, right, at least Juno, what happens is whatever jar you add in lib, it will be directly referenced to your project itself. You don't have to separately go and add to your build path. It will actually copy the same thing to a build path also. That's what happens. That is something which is your lib. And don't worry about these modules. These are something which are copied from your access to. Right? That is what it happens, right? But as of now, I just wanted to show you this access to part. That's why I created. Let me just revamp this web app so that let's make this simple now. If we delete this part, create new, next web apps, just keep everything same, maybe 2.5, and next, and finish. Everything which be a very simple. Now you can see in web INF there is one lib folder. So normally whenever you create the application, it will be so simple, right? But yes, if you are going to use that, then it will make it complex. Right? That's what. Now in this web content itself, whatever you want to add, like if you want to add JSPs, right, you have to add it here. Even in servlets, you have seen that our HTML got added to our web content itself, right? You will be adding everything here, right? It can be your HTML or images or CSS or JavaScript files. Everything will get accumulated into this web content. Now this HTML, images, CSS, JavaScript are called as static resources, right? Because our JSP is something which is dynamic resource, because it is rendered dynamically because of the code you are writing in JSP. But your image, CSS, JavaScript and HTML will never change, right? There are so many things, right? It can be jQuery, or is it JavaScript or Ajax. These are something which are standalone. That's why we call them as static resources. All your static resources will come under the web content. Either you can create a separate folders for that, like if you want to add any CSS, we always do this. You can just say CSS, and yes, here you can add all your CSS files. If you want to add JS, go for that. If you want the images, you can go for that. In that way, this whatever you do, you have to do it in a web content. Right? So this is our main directory structure we have. Right? The webs, right? Oh, I gave webs. Okay, it should be web JSPs. No worry. I'll create it separately. Right? So this is about JSPs, the startup which we have, and I hope you understood how exactly it works. We'll try to create. We'll try to start the main topics of JSPs from tomorrow. Any doubts still here, guys?